Thank you. Okay, at this time, we'll go ahead and start the pledge of the flag and the Pledge of Allegiance.
So with your permission, I'd like to give that honor to Cadet Bale. He is the NJRTC Rifle Team Commander. He's going to lead us tonight in the pledge.
Great, thank
Cadet
you.
Bale.
Ready, cut, forward, march. Color guard, halt, right, face, present. Colors.
If you would please join me in the pledge. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Carry. Colors. Ready, cut, left, face, forward, march. Color guard, halt, right, face, post the colors. Left, face, forward, march.
Thank you.
There's my heart in my throat.
Good evening. Good evening.
That's right.
Very glad to be with you in person, and glad all you folks are here and interested in tonight's proceedings. We'll continue on with the meeting, and the next item on the agenda is our administrative reports, and I'm going to ask Mr. Oliver if he will deliver those for us.
Thank you, sir. Mr. English, Ms. Mumal, members of the board, parents, students, school leaders, special guests, thank you for being here tonight. Several things to share since our last meeting. We had our January leadership meeting at Glenwood Elementary School, and our leadership meeting for the upcoming month will be at North Cove. Ms. Becky and I had the opportunity to attend the funeral service for Miss Susie Parks, retiree and mother-in-law and grandmother to several folks in our district. It was a wonderful service. Had a discussion with North Carolina Commerce Rep Jeff Emery. He is helping conduct a strategic plan for the city of Marion, and so that was a really good discussion about how the city works with the school district. I had the opportunity to attend the Department of Public Instruction School Performance Redesign meeting in Greensboro, and that was piggybacked on top of the superintendent's quarterly meeting, and a lot of discussion about what the future of the school performance grades will look like. There's obviously no change at this time, but a lot of talk about what it's going to look like in the future. We had our teacher advisory committee. Ms. Phillips is part of that committee. It's the teachers of the year from each of our schools, and a lot of great input from our teachers. Had attended the Joint Utility Committee, which is a facilities type planning committee for the city and the county, and we are invited to attend and share our input. Always a good meeting with the city and the county reps. Attended the reception for Congressman Edwards, which was held at McDowell Tech at the Universal Center. Very good meeting, well attended by the community. And the focus of that meeting was economic development. We had our calendar committee meeting, and we've had lots of input from the calendar committee since that meeting. Lots of really good input. The 3 proposed calendars will be included tonight and presented to the board, and those will be posted on the website for everyone to look at for the coming months. They'll be voted on in March per the policy. Attended the NC Pre-K committee, which is always a good meeting. That's a quarterly meeting. It involves a lot of folks from both Rutherford County and McDowell County. Ms. Hamby is very much involved in that meeting, and always very informational. And the big topic is always universal pre-K and how to make that better. We had a finance committee meeting in which the audit report was presented, and Ms. Rampey obviously had the lead on that. I would like to say, and that may come up again later, asking for some action on that for receiving the report, but I would just like to say that it was squeaky clean and no findings or concerns. So, great job. Had SRO discussions with the city of Marion and the town of Old Fort since the last meeting. I've also had a discussion with the sheriff, but that one just happened. So had the opportunity to speak with all 3 of our law enforcement partners to discuss SRO support and how to make that better going forward. Ms. Silver attended the meeting in Old Fort with Chief Lytle, and Ms. Ward was also, she hosted the meeting, and a lot of good discussion on and we're so thankful for our SRO support. It's just, it's so important to the safety of our students and staff, and our folks do a great job with that. Attended My Future NC meeting at McDowell High, and that is, My Future NC is focused on providing to our state 2 million people by 2030 with a 4-year degree, a 2-year degree, or a certificate of some sort for higher ed, and that is all about economic development as well for our state. So it's Mr. Schuford's probably well in tune with that effort, but that's a huge effort statewide. We had Building and Grounds Committee meeting on the 30th, and lots of good information there. We talked about the tennis court project. We'll be talking about that a little bit more. And we also talked about this upcoming presentation of our elementary capacity study that's coming up on February 27th. And it's going to be a lot of good information there. We also talked about some other near-term issues that Mr. Suttles brought to our attention for Building and Grounds. That was a great meeting. Held Parent Advisory Committee. It was a terrible day weather-wise, so we only had 6 folks who were able to attend, but a lot of good discussion. And always appreciate the parents who were able to attend. We had our link visit last week, which is a group from the community. They represent all different types of organizations and employers, and part of their link schedule each year, it's a year-long program, but one of their daily visits in that year is the Education Day, and we always enjoy being a big part of that for the Education Day. It's always a very positive visit, and our folks at Eastfield, McDowell High, FCS, Early College, and MAI all hosted part of that visit and did a great job. Ms. Baker, I know that they were all talking about how great the breakfast was. Thank you for that. Attended the McDowell Trails Association event last week. That was if you don't know, McDowell County is a leader in trails in our state. There are 4 different state-recognized state trails that come through McDowell County, and at some point in the future, those will all be connected. It's a great group that does a lot for our county, and I see great things for the future of that effort in our county. We had our Head Start Policy Committee, or council meeting this morning. Ms. Silver and I both attended that. Always a great meeting with Dr. Delaney. Lots of good feedback on the monitoring visit from the federal government. No findings, no concerns. Great job, Dr. Delaney. And we also received a lot of good budget information, so thank you for that. And last but not least, I am going to ask Mr. Berryhill if he would cast a photo that he took today. And
Hey!
we have the new lens at Old Ford Auditorium.
Nobody else is excited about that, but I am excited about this lens. Thank you, Mr. Berryhill. Mr. Oliver.
Well, I'm as excited as you are.
There's a story
That's
behind
great
that.
news.
It looks good. It looks
Good
nice.
effort. And
Thank you guys so much for that. Thank you, board.
and it does look good. It looks great.
Just in time for the big happenings.
And sir, that concludes my reports. We'll move on to student recognitions.
Okay. We have some students with us this evening that have attained high honors, and we as a board would like to recognize them. I'm going to ask Mr. Oliver if he will introduce these folks to the public here.
I am happy to do that. It's always fun to brag on our students and our staff. So first we have Miss Serenity Capps. And Garrett, do we have that photo of the reason for this recognition? So Serenity Capps is a kindergarten student in Senora Pamela Zagara's Spanish immersion classroom at Eastfield Global Magnet School. She made an ornament in her art class and sent it to Washington, D.C. It was chosen to hang on the Christmas tree in the U.S. Capitol building. She sent the design as a honeybee, the North Carolina insect, and hopefully we'll be able to blow that up so you can see it. Serenity started at Eastfield in the pre-K classroom. She is learning to read, write, and speak in Spanish and English. According to Principal Michelle Baker, Serenity is a leader in her school. She models grit and perseverance, a positive attitude, kindness to everyone, and academic excellence. Serenity is also a gymnast and a member of Above the Bar Dance and Gymnastics Studio. She attends Grace Community Church and is active in their children's program. She has a great sense of humor and loves to play practical jokes, especially on her mother. So, Serenity, would you come up, please? This says Serenity Capps, Christmas Ornament Contest winner 2022. Would you like to say anything to the group? No. Well, we're going to have you stand up here and get a photo. Ms. Baker, if you would. I want you to join Serenity. After you get a photo, I want you to join her. Please, ma'am.
Let her folks come up too.
So there are Christmas tree growers who have their trees selected to go to the Capitol for different reasons. Different, either the White House or the Capitol building. And we have a student who had an ornament on one of those trees. So great job. All right, next up, we are going to recognize our NJROTC marksmanship team. And where are they? There they are.
Oh, okay.
All right, and Captain Ross, sir, I'm going to let you do the honors unless you want me to.
I'll introduce them and then turn it over to them.
Captain Stephen Ross, United States Navy retired. Thank you, sir.
Okay. First, I'd like to introduce the team. If you come up front there, Anthony Escalera, Cole Cook, Summer Wyatt, and Daniel Bell. Just a little background. They won not this team, but the team from McDowell High School has won the state championship 4 years in a row. In 3 out of the last 4 years, they've qualified for the national championship. This last year was in Utah. I'll let them explain why that is kind of a bittersweet memory for them. But fairly young team. There's one freshman, two sophomores, and a junior on the team, so they've got a future ahead of them.
Oh, that's
And I'll
good.
turn it over to them to say something or whatever.
We were glad to be given a chance to go to the Nationals. Unfortunately, we couldn't attend because of the weather, but we do plan on qualifying this upcoming year.
Our A team has been doing really well this year, in the past year, and we plan to further exceed expectations to come.
What he didn't say is they qualified to attend. They flew from Greensboro to Dallas-Fort Worth. We were ice stormed in. We spent 48 hours in beautiful Dallas in an ice storm, turn around and come back home.
13 hours in the airport.
Well, we can both share that is great training for the military life. Well, for your outstanding performance, we have a certificate for each of you. I'd like to hand those out to you now. Daniel Bell. Cole Cook. Anthony Escalera. And Summer Wyatt. Good job, Summer. All right, let's give these folks another round. Thank you very much. We're proud of you. So I would like to just remind everyone that one of the great things that has happened with our NJROTC program in the last 5 years is that the board made the commitment to provide a digital targeting system for our unit, and that's allowed our students who are interested in marksmanship to become excellent competitive shooters, and we're really proud of that effort and thankful to the board for that investment and that commitment in the program.
And we appreciate your support, and if you're interested, next week we're hosting a rifle match at McDowell High School. We expect about 250 students from various high schools.
What day, sir?
What day and time?
Wednesday through Saturday.
I'll be there.
What
Great.
time?
Thank you, sir. All right. So now I get to recognize some staff members who have accomplished a great professional feat. So you may have or may have not heard of National Board Certification for Teachers, but if you have heard of it, you know how difficult it is. If you have not heard of it, then I can only let you know that it's one of the most difficult things for a teacher to accomplish and complete in their career is National Board Certification. It's an incredible amount of work, and it takes a lot of personal drive and a lot of professional ambition to work through the process while also planning and teaching on a daily basis. So it's a lot of hard work. We're very proud of all of our folks who have attained National Board Certification. So just a little background on the program. National Board Certification is a voluntary advanced teaching credential that goes beyond state licensure. National Board Certification has national standards for what accomplished teachers should know and be able to do. There are 4 components that teachers have to pass to become nationally board certified. The 4 components of the certification process are content knowledge, differentiation and instruction, teaching practice and learning environment, and effective and reflective practitioner. Research shows that candidates for National Board Certification demonstrate significant improvement in their teaching practice. Analyzing and reflecting on daily practice during candidacy helps teachers focus on their strengths and areas of improvement and gives them ideas for improving their teaching. North Carolina also ranks first nationally in the percentage of all teachers who have earned national board certification, with nearly 1/4, right now 23%, of all teachers in the state holding the certification. A lot of folks who had it have retired, so they don't get included anymore, but we've had lots of our teachers who have retired have had national certification. McDowell County Schools is very fortunate to currently have 51 nationally board certified teachers. McDowell County has developed a partnership with Bloom Board to offer support to anyone who is pursuing national board certification. That will allow them to work with a coach that will guide and evaluate their submission before they officially submit. We have 4 individuals that obtained their national board certification this past year. We also have several more educators that obtained part of their certification and will continue to work towards certification this year. The 4 newly certified educators are, and when I call your name, please come on up. First, we have Marlene Duncan from Pleasant Gardens Elementary. I don't know if Marlene is going to be here. Dr. Worley, I'll let you take her certificate with you, okay? Thank you. Next, from West Marion Elementary School, Ashley Green. Are you sure?
Thank you for your support. You and the rest of the school board have always supported me in my library program, and I'm very proud of the work that we're doing at West Marion, and I appreciate it. Thanks.
We're proud of you. We'll let you stand right there until your partners join you. Thank you, Ms. Ashley Green. Next up, from Pleasant Gardens Elementary, Donna Pyatt.
Yes, she likes to say it.
Thank everybody for their support. I've had a great support system with Pleasant Gardens and all of McDowell County Schools, so I'm very thankful for it.
And you also had an accomplishment this past year as a team fellow, correct?
So I've been doing that working with WNC STEM program. So going on.
In the STEM band.
Yes, STEM band.
Traveling around the state.
With Miss Charlie, so she's amazing too.
Doing great things. Thank you, Ms.
Nice.
Pyatt. And next, from McDowell High School, Daniel Smith. Where are you? There you are, Daniel. Share a few words.
I'll say thank you to God first. Secret of my success, honestly, I think there. But I was also inspired by my wife. She was trying to work on her national boards in the 99-2000 school year, and then March happened, and there was no more school. And so she had, I think, 2 videos. She had a few assignments, and then there was nothing else to work with, and she managed to turn that into a successful national board run. So that inspired me, and I started that in January 2001, and I got it last year.
Oh,
Congratulations. Please join us. And then we'll join.
Get out of the way.
There you go. Principals, I want you to come up too. Dr. Worley.
I'm trying to give you a minute, even though I don't have to.
On your staff.
Here, really? Here.
Thank you.
Mr. Oliver, before you move on, if I could too, I don't want to take the thunder from Miss Green there on what she did and her accomplishments, but every once in a while you hear that saying, behind every good man is a good woman. This is one of the few times we can say, hey, behind this woman is a good man. So her husband's here with her tonight, and he does work on our school buses.
through the this North Carolina public schools, right? That's how it's rewarded. And make sure everything checks out from the air brakes to everything else. I watched him doing it, and I got confused halfway through his check when I watched him. So we appreciate you too, on top of her, for what you did.
Well, I was actually going to say before Ms. Pyatt and Mr. Smith took their leave, so you get every bit of this praise, for being somebody that was on that end of working on their national boards, and I did not achieve mine. That was almost 20 years ago, and I know the effort that it takes to go through that. But I think also for you to take that on during whatever education looked like for the last 3 years, for you to be able to do it, and for the other two to be able to do it, I just want to tell you that not only because of this, but this is just another reason why I put the staff of McDowell County Schools up against anybody. Because this feat that you guys did, it just makes us all better. And so thank you for doing that.
McDowell County Schools has a much higher percentage than the national average. So
That's
something to be very proud of.
right. Nothing that we're surprised to hear, because we are so proud of all the work that's done every day in our schools. But thank you, and you just take it all in, because they're already shanked out. They're already gone.
Thanks again.
I want to also say about Mr. Green, sir, that was a great touch. And absolutely true. But Mr. Green also, if you don't know, when we have to check roads in the wintertime, if Will is not available, Chris goes out and checks roads. And sometimes he helps Will do that anyway. So.
Anybody needs them 2 hours late, 3 hours late, I can be involved.
So thank you both for what you do.
Oh, I love it. That's great.
Okay. Well, again, we want to say congratulations to all our students and our staff members on their accomplishments. It's such a pleasure to be able to recognize our folks.
Yes. Thank you.
Next item on our agenda this evening is our teacher representative, Ms. Kelly Phillips. She has a presentation for us.
Good evening, members of the board and the community. I'm really excited to share what I'm going to tonight. I promise I'm going to try to go fast and not bore you, but the science of reading, it's not everyone's favorite thing to talk about, but it has become one of my most favorite things in education. The first time I heard the science of reading, Jill Ward and Iris Long and I, it was right before COVID. I was asked to help put together some type of a presentation on phonological awareness and what that looks like. And I remember Jill Ward saying, get ready, there's something coming called letters and the science of reading. I thought, what is the science of reading? I know nothing about this. I need to know what this is. She told me then that there was something called letters training that was coming. And in case, I know you guys know this, but the state of North Carolina has released legislation that every teacher in the state of North Carolina in elementary school is going to be trained in the science of reading. We have been undergoing lots and lots of training for the last 2 years. I'll get to that in just a minute. But the science of reading, it's nothing brand new. It is something that's been going around for years and years and years. And so I first heard that, I think it was in 2019. And so I got immediately went online, started looking, what is the science of reading? So I'm just going to share just a little bit of what the science of reading is. But before I go any further, I invite you all to please come into my classroom any morning, because this is my most absolute favorite time of the day. It's very structured. You're going to get to see a lot of what it means to teach with this capacity. But for those of you who don't know me, I'm very much a type A. I'm structured. I like to stick to a routine. So this has really helped me a lot to just go with the flow. So I'm going to give you a 3-minute presentation about what the science of reading is, and then I'm going to show you what it looks like in my classroom. So, and I'm going to try to use this. Maybe. We'll click.
This is where I say, Garrett, help.
Oh, wait, okay. It's clicking now. So, reading is not natural. I remember when I was doing my Teacher of the Year interviews here and at the regional level, something that really is important to me is that every child needs to read, but reading is not natural. It is not something you can learn to talk, you can learn to walk, that comes naturally. Reading is not natural. It doesn't just happen by osmosis. You're not going to learn how to do it just by being read to and not just being placed in a literacy-rich environment. So if a student seems to be struggling, we cannot just sit and wait and see. There's no such thing as giving a student the gift of time. If we wait, some kids don't get it. And if they don't have it by the end of first grade, they're not going to be able to catch up. They tend to, even if we provide tons and tons of interventions, they're going to be struggling. So this means that directly teaching reading is what we have to do rather than just taking the child's lead and then letting them go with the flow. Everyone learns to read in the same way. We've got the reading brain. We have learned lots and lots about this over the last couple years. There's parts of the brain that work differently when you're learning how to read. For any of you who love science, I highly encourage you to go sit through letters training. It's going to tell you the why we're doing this. There are not multiple ways to read, so we don't need to match our approach to our students by always just going with learning styles. So all skilled readers, they have phonics skills and age-appropriate language comprehension. There is a known path. Do what? Thanks, Garrett. We'll turn that. So there is a known path for reading that circulates to the brain, and there's things that have to happen. This is known as the reading rope. Every strand of this rope has to be mastered in order for a child to be a proficient, skilled reader. You cannot leave one piece out. I'm not going to go into all the science behind this. Just know that every bit of this, language comprehension, word recognition, it has to take place in order for a child to learn how to read. You can't just leave, if you want to leave out sight recognition, you can't. If you want to leave out literacy knowledge, you cannot. Vocabulary, every piece of this is important to teach a child to read, and we have to start early. We cannot wait until they're in 3rd and 4th grade taking an EOG and hope for the best. It has to start in kindergarten or preschool possibly. Some students acquire these circuits or pathways more easily than others, but all student needs lots of repetition to create the pathways, but it's the same pathway. Every student can learn to read the same way. Some are going to require more deliberate, distributed, and cumulative practice. Some have brains that make the learning to read very difficult, but with the right instruction, even students who have dyslexia or other learning disabilities can learn to read. Why are we going to follow this approach? Children who start low tend to stay low. Trouble with early word reading skills leads to less time spent reading, slow vocabulary growth, missed opportunities to practice, negative attitudes towards reading. The best solution to the problem is to allocate the resources for early identification and early prevention. So we've got to start early on. Prevention is easier and cheaper than intervention. So there are known indicators of reading that can be assessed at the beginning of kindergarten. We all get to do DIBELS training every year. DIBELS assessments, we start early on. And the beauty of these assessments is it gives us indicators. What can we target? Where can we target our instruction? Every teacher in the state of North Carolina is doing this. This year we have wonderful, we get to do individual reading plans. It is a lot of work, but I know that I'm not going to be popular when I say this. It's needed. I mean, as much as we are struggling with trying to find the time to do what is needed for the students, it is needed. Every child needs the right kind of instruction. It takes 4 times as long to remediate a student with poor reading skills in the 4th grade compared to remediating them in kindergarten or early 1st grade. I can't stress enough how important it is to allocate the time and the money into our kindergarten and 1st grade classrooms. I'm just going to share just a little testimonial. Last year I had 16 students, or this year I have 16. Last year I had 13. I started from day one. I was blessed in the fact that Ms. Hamby allowed me to do Orton Gillingham training prior to COVID. So I was, I think, one of the first in the district who took this training, came back and started implementing skills. And the beauty of it is it was things I was already doing. It was validating the things that I've been doing in my classroom. So 13 students last year, from day one until the end of the year, I stuck to the science of reading. I said, I'm going to be a guinea pig. I'm going to do it. I'm not going to follow balanced literacy. I'm going to stick to the science of reading. And for the first time in my career, I had 12 out of 13 who were above benchmark at the end of the year. One student who was 1 or 2 points from benchmark, but that child had been intensive at the beginning of the year. I have 16 students this year. We just finished up mid-year assessments. I'm a firm believer in the science of reading. I've stuck to it to fidelity. And I have 15 out of 16 who are on benchmark or above benchmark. One student who is 1 point from. It can work. And these are students, I've had students with reading disabilities. It works. How or why are we doing this? So For those of you, I'm sure board members, you have probably been contacted about letters training. For those of you in the audience, if you're an upper grades person, you may not know much about letters training. Everyone in the state of North Carolina is completing this training. It is a lot of work. We started last year. We were one of the first cohorts that started. It is 8 units. Each unit takes about 12 hours, 96 hours by the time we're done, that teachers are completing. Pretty much we have PLC time, sometime after school. A lot of teachers are doing this on their own time over the summer. We have, in addition to that, 8 days between last year and this year where we are meeting face-to-face virtually to learn why. Why are we teaching this way? So it is, I do wish that the state of North Carolina would have rolled it out a little differently. I think it is much needed. Some people, I think if it could have been rolled out differently, we would have had a lot better buy-in. I'm just going to leave it there. But this is something that every teacher is doing, and it's a lot of work. It's hard work. It's the equivalent of, some people said, master's level courses. So a lot of work. While we're doing the training, there are pieces that you are following along bridge to practice. You are working with students directly, trying to find what students need. The beauty of the fact that we're doing it is that you get to put into practice immediately what you're learning. So that part is great. So the why is the letters training. So if board members, if you have teachers reaching out to you, asking you about letters, why do we have to do this? You probably have heard that already. It is required by the state, but it's a lot of work. And a lot of teachers are spending individual time doing this. I mean, so it's important work. And I promise you teachers want what's best for kids, but I also want to point that it is a lot of work. So how, the why is the letters, the how is what we're doing in the classrooms. And I am so grateful to be part of McDowell County Schools. Ms. Hamby and the rest of the central office staff, I don't know if everyone, but almost, I know at our school, almost everyone is trained in Orton Gillingham. So those of you who have never heard of Orton Gillingham, it's a methodology. It's a multisensory approach to teaching kids. It's getting all of this things that they have to do. They're using their hands. They're writing in the sand. They're getting up. They're moving. It's how we teach. So Orton Gillingham is a methodology. We've had IMSE, which is, it's not exactly correct, but they are a publisher who has published a scope and sequence. We have followed that for the last 2 years. Last year we did reading, recipe for reading. This year is IMSE. I'm a huge fan. It has worked. And so Hegarty is another one. I know that when I first started researching the science of reading, what are the best practices, I went straight to some Facebook groups and other people that probably know way more than I do. And one thing that kept coming up was Hegarty. If you want to teach phonological awareness, which you have to have before you can start reading. Kids have to hear words. They have to be able to sound them out. They have to hear it. They have to rhyme, break syllables. That has to be done before the child can start reading. And so Hegarty is a program. I came back to Miss Elliott and our facilitator last year, Miss Lawing, and I said, I want this program. I'd already downloaded all the free samples, went through it as much as I could, and they were so gracious they bought it. So now they didn't just buy it for me, they bought it for all of our K2 teachers. So we have been using Hegarty for phonological awareness, and I know other schools are using it. For our interventions, we use Bridge the Gap, which is an offshoot of, it's the same program, Hegarty, but it's for upper grades. And the IMSE, you'll probably, if you're in classrooms, you're going to see all this stuff in classrooms. There's kid lips. You're going to walk around and you see, why do we have pictures of kids' mouths? They have to see it. They can't just pick something up. So there's all these memes. It's hilarious where kids are opening their mouths and teachers open their mouths big and loud and making these vowel sounds. And I'm not going to do it for you now, but if you come to my classroom, you can see it. But we give them mirrors. It's lots of hands-on approach to make sure that when they are young, they can hear these things and they can see it, and it's going to fall in line so that one day they are going to be reading. And I promise you, if we can stick to this, by the end of kindergarten, they're going to be reading.
Absolutely. Pause just to clarify, because I'm tracking with you and I want to track all the way. Can you explain the difference between, or what is phonemic? I didn't say that.
Phonemic awareness.
Yep, phonemic
and phonological awareness.
Yes. Can you tell me what those are?
So phonological awareness is hearing. Can you hear the sounds? It's all dealing with spoken language. And then phonemic, you can add in the letters, the graphemes. So you hear first you're going to hear the sounds, the phonemes. Then you're going to add in the graphemes, which can tie in. So it kind of is under one big umbrella. So you have phonological awareness, then underneath we've got phonics and phonemic awareness. So there's a lot that goes into it. And then we've got orthographic mapping that comes in as we're getting into the written piece. And then when they get into 3rd grade and 4th and 5th grade, they are doing morphology, where there's word parts. So there's a lot, but it's great stuff. It's great stuff. So here it is in action in my classroom. These are my little kinder babies that I absolutely adore. So I just took a couple pictures. The sand trays every single day. I don't want to model a whole lesson for you because I don't want to bore you, but we follow a very much structured detail in it. So every day you can walk into my classroom, you're going to see the exact same thing every single day. And some people will be bored out of their minds by that, but I promise it works. Dr. Worley's been able to see it works. So every single day we're doing the alphabet chant every day. Every single day we get out the sand, and you can start gradually releasing some of this as they get older. And some of you ask, well, my child went to school reading. It's not just for those who can't read. I had children who went to school reading, and I thought, if Chloe and Cooper were sitting in my kindergarten class, they'd be bored out of their mind. I had a child last year who came to me. For those of you who are used to balance literacy, he came in day 1, I gave him a level F book. Here we go, we're sitting there reading that level F book. He flies through it. I thought, let's go to a level G book. He flies through it. I keep going and going and going. Each day, trying something new. We finally made it to a level M or N, and I realized he cannot decode words that he's never seen before. So for him, instead of starting when I do small group instruction, we don't just stick with the basic CVC, consonant, vowel, consonant words. We move on to, can he divide syllables? Can he find the vowel teams? And so it's very much something that you don't have to keep a child in a level that they are way too advanced for. You can move on as long as you're doing your differentiated instruction. But the science of reading, it's not a bad thing. It's nothing new. It's been around. Sorry, losing my voice. It's been around for years and years. A lot of the programs that we have used, probably that we came through and learned by, was the science of reading, just under a different name. My voice is gone now. But one thing I ask of you is please come out into the classrooms, because you're probably going to get a lot of questions about why. I know we're trying to find a new reading adoption, and we're looking for one that has the science of reading. And there's no program that's going to be perfect. For me, if I can keep doing this and teaching this way, and for some of my colleagues, it's not just me. I have colleagues who have come to me every day and say, please don't let them take OG away. Please don't let them go speak up. Don't take OG away, because they have found something that's working. I went to teachers who have been teaching for years. There's a teacher in our building who has been teaching for 38 years, and she's like, this is working. This is what she said. She's seen more results with teaching this way than any other way. So it's amazing. I told you I needed one board meeting to share this with you. I do beg you to come out and come in any morning, because it's my favorite time of the day.
Oh, nice.
Any questions?
What time?
We switched up my schedule slightly, just slightly. I was starting it's usually around 8:10, 8:05 to 8:10. Come in. I get started right away. I use every minute of every day. But you're not going to just see it in my room. You're going to see this across the county. And yes, you're going to see more of the hands-on. I've got some little guys here. You see Play-Doh. We're tapping, like lots of hands-on. Sand. Every day we have sand. You don't start with letters. You can see on the top we've got just tiles. They're moving sounds. It's an amazing thing to watch. When you can see a kindergartner who comes to you, doesn't know a single letter in the alphabet, can't tell you any sounds in the words, and then in January they are reading. And I'm going to share one email, just one. I'm not going to post it there, but I want to read this, because this is why we do this, and this is why I do what I do. It's context. It says the title was "You Are Amazing," and it has nothing to do with me. But it says we took this child. There's a picture of him at the bottom, to Monster Jam yesterday. He's very excited about monster trucks right now. He wrote this sentence with a period at the end! Exclamation mark. We did not tell him to do this. He did it on his own while he was playing. He copied Monster Jam from a poster we brought back but the rest is all his writing. As a music teacher, I know this isn't magic. I know there are methods and procedures that you follow, and eventually with support, most kids get it. Even knowing all that, I'm convinced you're a magician. Our child is reading and writing in full sentences in kindergarten, and it's all because of you. But it's not because of me. It's because there are strategies and there are practices that work. And this child came to me, didn't know his alphabet, wasn't writing anything, and that email was sent 1st of January, and he's writing and reading in full sentences. So, and it's not just him, it's across the district. Everybody, just go into some kindergarten classrooms, go into 1st and 2nd grade classrooms. But the one thing, the takeaway, I cannot say, we have to have support and resources. If you have extra funds anywhere, put them into kindergarten and 1st grade, keep the class sizes small, because if we can reach them then, we are not going to have the issues as they get older.
I think we can look at that. I'm thinking about those 3rd graders right now when you talk about the science of reading and how important the science of reading is. And, I would be remiss to say that if I didn't share, for those of you who don't know, my daughter teaches 3rd grade. And so I see her tears this year because her kids are the kids that were the most directly affected by COVID. They went home halfway through their kindergarten year. Their 1st grade year was A week, B week, A week, B week, put a mask on, don't wear a mask, don't come to school, come to school. And they're in the 3rd grade, and the great state of North Carolina has not realized that they need to adjust their testing expectations to give these kids a chance to catch up with everything that they've lost. And so your presentation about the science of reading is exactly what we need to be doing as a school system to support those youngest learners and their teachers. And you are a fantastic representative for the teachers in this county. So thank you for what you did. That's all right. Put you in there.
Thank you, Ms. Phillips. Thank you. The next item is correspondence, and do we have any?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we do. We have a thank you note from the family of Mary Susie Dobbins Parks. A thank you note to the board. Thank you for the beautiful spray sent to Mama's funeral. My mother committed much of her life to educating the Cal County students, and I hope in some small way she lives on for the wise decisions you as a board will make in the future. And this is from Mrs. Susie English.
All right. Okay. Any further correspondence? All right. Next item is a request to address the board, and we do have one person interested in speaking this evening. Mr. David Patnude wants to address the board regarding gender. And that's all that's written here. So, Mr. Patnude, as you make your way to the podium, I know you've spoken to the board before, but I have to remind anyone that chooses to address the board that our policy states that board members won't respond to individuals who speak at this time, except in order to request clarification of a point that you might make. Also, you're allowed to speak for no more than 3 minutes, and you may only speak once during the public comment period. So, Ms. Dowdle, just behind you there, we'll keep the time, and when you get close, you whisper in your ear. How about that? Okay. Mr. Patnude, the floor is all yours, sir.
All right. My name's David Patnude, and I was just informed yesterday about the discussion of gender and using different pronouns and that sort of thing, and a study that may be being done as far as that goes for children in school. But I think most people, reasonable people, realize that the gender is a male and female. You're born that way. And that's the way it should stay. You're a male and female when you come into school. And that's the way you should be addressed, by that proper pronoun. I don't think there's any responsible person in this room that would let a child handle the finances for the family. They're not going to let them have consensual sex. They're not going to, there's many things that they won't let a child do. The state of North Carolina won't let a child drive until they're 16, and then it's limited where you're supposed to drive at certain hours. So, and this is because they're not mature enough to know things like that. And how would a child know if they're a little girl that they want to be a boy? I mean, that's just they can decide that later on. But at 7 or 12 or 15 is not the time for it. And then the next thing that could enter into that is groups with peer pressure to sway people to think this way or think that way. It's just the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard of in my life. Somehow, I think all of us made it through school without these things coming up. I don't know if you're spending money on a study or not, but if you are, that's pretty foolish, and there's your money for reading. That could be extra money for that. I'm not going to go into the Christian part of this. I mean, there is the infallible Word of God in the Bible that also addresses this. Appreciate your time, and I hope y'all will consider what I've said.
All right. Okay. All right. We'll move on to the next item on the agenda, which is unfinished business. And Mr. Oliver, would you like to lead the discussion on that?
Yes, sir. So an update on the tennis courts and multipurpose field project. We have our pre-bid meeting on February the 28th on site at McDowell High School. And the bid opening meeting will be on March 14th. So those dates are set, and the advertisement was posted in the McDowell paper on Friday and Sunday, which is the requirement. It has to be posted. It only has to be posted one time in a local paper, but we wanted to have it posted for Sunday also. So that has been advertised, and we will look forward to the folks that show up at our pre-bid meeting on February 28th, and then we'll look even more forward to our bid opening on March 14th. With our elementary school facilities and capacity study, I had the opportunity to meet with Dr. West and Dr. Watson last week, and I heard the pre-brief. You'll be hearing the brief from them face-to-face at the February work session, which is on the 27th. And they're good. I told them the goal was an hour because we had the Head Start training before that. And they're good with that. I think the brief is going to be very much worth your while. You're going to be pleased with the study that they've completed and the information that will be available to the board for long-term planning for elementary districts.
That's all you have. Okay. All right, then we'll move along to new business. And Dr. Delaney, our Head Start and Early Head Start Director, has a COVID-19 mitigation policy that you would like for us to consider.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Mr. Oliver. I am sure you're looking at your agenda and thinking, COVID-19 mitigation policy, really? We're not over that yet. So I will not take up much of your time. I do just want to present tonight the Head Start, the local Head Start COVID-19 mitigation policy. This policy was created at the order of the Administration for Children and Families in the Office of Head Start. You were provided a copy in your packet, a copy of the policy, and I just wanted to tonight give a little background information on why that information was requested from the Office of Head Start and why this local policy had to be created. So the final rule is what they're calling the information that came out on January the 6th. The final rule is something that's put into place into the Head Start performance standards, and it did
add a few things and take away some things from this COVID policy that was in effect. So we've talked previously about the masking mandate, and that was lifted by the Office of Head Start. And so this final ruling did formally remove that masking mandate from the Head Start policies and procedures. And so by doing that, they asked that Head Start put into effect a mitigation policy. They said if we take away the masking mandate, you need to put a policy into place on how you're going to prevent illness and spread in children and families and staff in the local Head Start programs. So that's what this policy does include. They ask that we follow a couple requirements as we're creating this policy. One of those was to do this in collaboration with our Health Services Advisory Committee. And our local Health Services Advisory Committee for Head Start does include members from the medical community, from the health department, parents, staff, and community stakeholders that create this advisory committee. And so this policy was created in collaboration with that committee. Last week we met on February the 7th. We did go over the policy in depth, look at the research, look at these mitigation strategies, and the Health Advisory Committee did offer suggestions, and we did finalize this policy. So we did present this policy to our Policy Council this morning, and it is being presented to you tonight for your approval. So basically, the requirements that they gave us for this policy is that it's a evidence-based research policy that relies on information and strategies from an evidence-based source. And so we did create this policy around the CDC recommendations and guidance. And specifically, and it's listed here in that packet, it's the operational guidance for K-12 schools and early care and education programs to support safe in-person learning. One of the other requirements that was required of this policy is that we make this policy able to be scaled up or scaled down based on our community levels. So we do reference that as well in this policy. We link it straight to the CDC website. That's you can click on that link, and it does take you to a landing page where it says what McDowell County's specific threat at that specific time. So we do include things in our policy that say if that threat level does change for our community, what are those extra mitigation strategies that we're going to put into place? And all that was listed in that policy that you received. And then finally, they do ask that we include in this policy how we're going to communicate that to staff and family and children. And so we do specify how we're going to get that message out, how we're going to share this policy with them, and then share the updates if there are changes necessary. So that is it, and I'd be happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Any questions from the board?
That's a lot of work to take a mask off and put it back on. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
All right, is there a motion then concerning the COVID-19 mitigation policy for Head Start?
I'd like to make a motion that we accept the COVID-19 mitigation policy presented by Dr. Delaney tonight.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion by Ms. Silver and a second by Mr. Frank to approve the COVID-19 mitigation policy. Is there any further discussion? Just as a matter of information for folks in the public that may not know, the reason the school board has to approve this policy for Head Start, which is a federal program, is because McDowell County Schools is the sponsoring agency for the program. A lot of other places, particularly in more urban areas, it may be a community group that sponsors a program like this. So just an item for information. Okay, no further discussion. All in favor of the motion? And the motion carries unanimously. Dr. Delaney, thank you. And we look forward to seeing you on the 27th.
I will be there. I'm glad you're looking forward to it.
All right. The next item is regarding our April 2023 board meeting. And I guess it boils down to we need to change the date of the April 2023 meeting. I'll let Mr. Oliver expand upon that.
Yes, sir, thank you. So currently, the meeting is scheduled for Monday, April 10th, which is the second Monday of the month, which is our standard date for our board meetings. This year, the way the calendar falls out, all of our staff and all of our schools will be on spring break the week leading up to the board meeting, because April 10th is Easter Monday. And we would like to request, because of all the hard work that takes place in preparation for the board meeting, and also in an effort for the meeting information to be timely, we would like to request that that be shifted to Monday, April 17th, so that we won't have to prepare for the board meeting 2 weeks early because of spring break for all of the staff. So that's the reason for the request, sir.
All right. Okay, and we do need to take action on this evening so that can be properly noticed to the public should we make the change. So any questions? If not, is there a motion regarding the changing the date of the April 2023 board meeting
I'd
to
make
the
that motion.
17th? Okay. Mr. Abernathy makes the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Schuffer. Any questions, discussions, comments? If not, then, and again, as a point of information, it will be at the regular meeting, 6 p.m. There's no change in that. But we are moving the meeting forward 1 week, from the 10th to the 17th. Okay. All in favor of the motion then? And the motion carries unanimously. All right. Thank you, sir. Now, next item, proposed 2023 graduation dates. God, man, it's getting here. The year is really going by quick, isn't it? Would you care to speak to that?
Yes, sir, I'll be glad to. In fact, happy to. I know our principals are already thinking about this big day, and especially all of our seniors and their families are thinking about these 3 events. The dates are listed on the agenda, and the letters that support those requested dates were part of your packet. Both the early college and MAI would like to graduate on Saturday, May 13th, with the early college ceremony at 9 and the MAI ceremony at 11 p.m. Again, that's on Saturday, May 13th. McDowell High School is requested to graduate on Friday, June the 9th at 7 p.m. And those are in line with the calendars for this year.
All right.
And pardon me, sir, also McDowell Virtual Academy is on Saturday, or pardon me, they're on Tuesday, June 13th. Pardon me for not including McDowell Virtual in my comments. They requested Tuesday, June 13th at 6 p.m.
All right. Okay, then. Is there a motion concerning the setting the graduation dates?
So move.
Ms. Moomaw makes the motion. Second.
I'll second.
Mr. Suttles makes a second. Any further discussion? If not, then, all in favor of the motion? And the motion carries unanimously. All right. Next item that needs action this evening is approval of the 2022 audit report. And Mr. Frank, would you like to chime in on that, or?
Yes, I would. The audit report, as reported by Mr. Oliver, was flawless. There were no compliance findings, no material weaknesses, and no noticeable deficiencies. And I want to say that Mr. Abernathy drove home a point to me that this was a very appreciable, noted by Mrs. Rampy, and she needs to be noticed for that dedication and the good job that she has done throughout the year. And I was so impressed, and this is my first time working with the Finance Committee, and his as well. And the Boggs, Crump, and Brown associates that did the financial report, very professional. And I want to say, and I know Mr. Abernathy will want to add to it too, Suzanne, my hat's off to you for the fantastic job that you've done. And with handling as much money and so many avenues that it comes from, you did a phenomenal job. And I personally appreciate that from the Finance Committee. And I know Mr. Abernathy would like to say something as well.
Yeah, be real quick, but thank you, and thank your staff for the work that they did. And it is indicative of how the organization's managed. And I take a whole lot of away from it to Mr. Oliver and the board and your staff to have that strong of an audit. And audits are underappreciated. They don't get they're not fun and exciting, but they're extremely important. And I appreciate it.
I agree.
Mr. Frank, as chair of the Finance Committee, would you like to offer a motion?
I sure would. I would like to make a motion that the audit report is accepted as it's printed in our agenda for this evening.
Okay.
Second.
Okay. We have a motion by Mr. Frank and a second by Mr. Abernathy. Is there any further discussion? If not, then Ms. Rampy, your halo's glowing. Would you care to say anything?
Although I would like to take all the credit. Because that's my personality. Really, it is the finance staff and our directors over a lot of our federal programs and our state grants as well that help manage that with the compliance, because federal programs are very specific and very hard to keep in compliance. So it really is a team effort, and I'm really proud of our group.
Nice. All right. Okay, so we have a motion and a second regarding the budget audit. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor of the motion, and the motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Now we come down to the proposed 2023-2024 school calendars. And you had a copy of those in your packet this evening. And these are for your consideration. And we will take action on these at the March meeting. Is that correct?
Sir.
All right. Would I know anything you'd like to say about the calendars?
Yes, sir. I would love to just thank the calendar committee for their hard work. Ms. Silver and I have talked about this process several times since the calendar committee meeting and discussed the feedback that we've gotten back from each of our calendar committee reps and all of our principals, and also our parent reps that were on the committee, and our local business reps. And I think I've been here now since 2013. I don't remember a process where we've had this level of consensus on the traditional calendar. It's normally a very even split in options and a lot of back and forth about what the preferences are. But this year was it was very clear the option that our folks wanted, with a couple of adjustments that were made based on that feedback. And that was primarily for the traditional calendar. As you know, the two cooperative innovative high schools, they have a lot of leeway in establishing their calendar because it's aligned to the community college. And Eastville Global Magnet School, Ms. Baker has the brunt of that effort for their calendar because she manages that process flawlessly. So, but the 3 calendars all meet the requirements of the statute. I've gone back and checked 3 times to make sure I didn't miss anything based on the statute and policy. And I know Ms. Silver has also looked at that as well. And I feel like that we've done a great job of putting these calendars together. And I think with the limitations that we have based on the statute, these calendars definitely meet, best serve our purposes for the next school year. Okay. And ma'am, do you have anything you'd like to?
Yes, sir, I do. As Mr. Oliver said, I just appreciate the opportunity of being able to work with so many of our qualified staff, our parent representatives, our business representatives on putting this calendar together. And as Mr. Oliver said, it was the most agreement that I've ever been a part of as well with picking these calendars out. One thing that our staff asked for overwhelmingly, and as Ms. Phillips pointed out, they have been inundated with professional development for the last 2 years, and are, as I know, as our principals are as well, looking forward to maybe not having quite as much next year on those work days. For our elementary staff and for our secondary staff, well, I guess that'd be all of our staff, our work days were already planned before they were ever able to take the option to work on them or not. The other thing that was discussed, and I hope that we as a board can come to some kind of consensus with, is the designation of work days, bringing back mandatory and optional work days, giving people the opportunity to take an annual leave day on a work day should they so choose, to not lose those. Option A passed. Most every school did turn in, I think 14 out of 15. I
think there were two. There were 2 schools that said they preferred B.
13 out of 15, but so that's pretty good. So with that being said, Mr. Oliver did refer to the North Carolina calendar law for anybody that would like to look that up, and I'd love for you to look it up. It's General Statute 115C-84.2. At our January work session, our board discussed at length the state calendar law and the stipulations that have been put in place for school systems throughout the state. We must go to school a minimum of 185 days or 1,025 hours. The start date has already been determined for us by the General Assembly of the state of North Carolina as the Monday closest to August the 26th, with an end date on the Friday closest to June the 11th. There is a waiver for weather that some school systems around us are able to take advantage of. If they are closed for 8 days for 4 out of the last 10 years for inclement weather, they are able to request a waiver. We are not anywhere close to that. I know people were doing snow dances over the weekend, but we didn't get them. With that being said, several North Carolina school systems have defied state law. One county in particular has now reversed their proposed calendar due to possible litigation. While our board at the January work session 100% supports our professionals and their expertise in determining what is educationally sound for our student, it is our hope that our parents and community partners will join us in contacting Senator Warren Daniel, Representative Dudley Green, Representative Jake Johnson, Senator Phil Berger, to express our desire for local control of our calendar. Our number one role, my husband said not to get it together. Our number one role and responsibility is, and I quote another North Carolina state law, that is the power of the McDowell County Board of Education to supervise and control the public schools within McDowell County. It is then an oxymoron to me, if you will, like dry ice, that those two things counteract each other. It is an oxymoron to me to say that we have the power to determine what's best for our school children here in our county, but we do not have the power to determine when our students start and finish the school year. We would like to ask that you also reach out in helping us to establish a school calendar that is suitable for the needs of our public schools. I will be passing out to you right now a resolution as a board that I would like for you to take home to consider. There's one for all of you. There are a few points here. Oh, I don't need points. There are a few points as you're passing that out that I would like to point out that is on this resolution. Number one, community college classes currently end 2 weeks prior to the current semester ending at our high school. We have some students that are doing dual enrollment. They are at McDowell High School. They are also at McDowell Tech. Those students finish their McDowell Tech classes 2 weeks earlier than they finished that before Christmas. They go back in January where they start up new McDowell Tech classes but are finishing up McDowell High School classes. They are starting a new semester at the technical college, trying to get college transfer classes, but yet they're trying to study for final exams. And look at Miss Bennett, because she knows exactly what these kids are going through. Also, we strive to encourage kids to take advanced placement classes here to further their education. Those advanced placement tests the dates for those tests are set up nationally. We do not determine when that happens. That happens as a nation. Our students are not even given the same opportunity as other students across the nation to be on the same pacing guide of taking those classes, but they're being asked to take those exams at the same time that kids that might start at the 1st of August start. Once again, who knows better what our kids need than us? Finally, for our teachers, for our staff, for our students, they need that semester break. They need to finish up at the end of December, finish those classes, go home, enjoy the holidays, come back in January and start over again. There are other points in this. Most here, restoring local control of school calendars will allow the McDowell County Board of Education to meet the calendar preferences of McDowell County families, educators, and businesses within our community while allowing for innovative experimental approaches to improve student achievement. So, fellow board members, I ask you to take this home, peruse it over the next month. I would like, Mr. Chairman, to ask for action on this at the March board meeting.
Duly noted. All right. Thank you, Ms. Silver.
If I could back up what she's saying too, being a former teacher, I think Beth is on the right track, and it's exactly what every teacher knows we need to do. The problem is sometimes with us, politics plays a bigger part. We're just little McDowell County, and so we really do need the county's help, the public's help to jump on board and flood these representatives' emails and let them know how we feel. Because to them, they're sitting up there, most of them, they're just another little town school board. Okay, they don't really hear us. And so we do need your voices. We do need your emails. If you've got 5 minutes, take it. Push this, because without your help, I don't see us ever getting anything done without Buncombe County and some others, and we're piggybacking on right now. But we do have loud voices, and we can make them heard. So if you can, like she said, send them a message and let them know that.
Well, we've kind of transitioned into board reports with Ms. Silver's report from the calendar committee then. Are there other members that have items they need to report? Finance, building grounds, Head Start, ROTC?
You can go ahead. Well, I've talked a lot.
Okay. I'll give you a break. So Buildings and Grounds committee, we did meet the other day, had a great meeting. Got a couple things that we can bring to the board, and you guys saw my email. We have a generous donation by a public servant from McDowell County who wants to be unnamed. It's a donation of 0.14 acres that adjoins Marion Elementary School. He wants to give it to us to go with that acreage for us to do something in the future with. The only thing he's asking is for us to pay for the title transfer. And I talked to Mr. Oliver. We're not sure about if we need a survey or not, but we'll check on that. But it's a great gesture. He does not want to be named. He doesn't want any recognition from it. Super individual's done a lot for the county, I can tell you that. So that has been mentioned. I did look at a couple trees at Old Fort, and Mr. Trinks and I did speak about these trees. And at the next Building and Grounds meeting, we'll bring up something that could be a plan for that. What else do I have? I think we covered everything else. The projector looked great. Great job, Mr. Oliver. Great job, Gary.
That's good. That was all Gary, sir.
Thank you.
Excellent job. You're an Amazon king there. I did to piggyback off of what you did with Holland and Hamrick and stuff. I did call them just to find out if they had any updated kind of ideas for what kind of pricing we're looking at. And the last two that they did were so off. One was really high, the other one was really low. So he said that he would work with you and I to get some more pricing on that before that date. So that was great. The reading hammocks at all the elementary schools, thank goodness, are done. I just say that because my tractor's about to blow up. But they are board. Again, I want to thank Mr. Oliver, all of the board members, Mr. Rampy, everyone that had a hand in getting these up. It is so great to see these kids when we do get some warm weather out there reading. I saw your picture too, by the way. Nice office. I'm going to come steal it one day. But yeah, it was great. Thank you guys again for all that with buildings and grounds, and that's all I have.
Anybody else? Does anybody have another board report?
Head Start.
Head Start.
That's good.
As always, one of my favorite things about board meeting days are my Head Start Policy Council meetings. Love being a part of that, Dr. Delaney, and thank you guys. She'll be presenting more specifically to the board at our work session, but one thing that I did want to point out to her that I think, or to you guys that they do, was the way that they determine their budgetary items. It blew me away that you do that, and I know Ms. Rampy would be pleased to know that I paid attention during the budget discussion, but they have a running like a running spreadsheet, so to speak, for each of the areas in Head Start that goes throughout the year. And as they come up with a budgetary item that they think they might need, they put that on there. They then also show what area of Head Start's qualifications that are the area that needs to go with that, so they can have proof of why they have to justify spending that money for it. And then they take all of that together and they look to see what can they have, what do they want to have, and then what are they just going to wish that they could have but not get. So Dr. Delaney, that's amazing to me. Another thing that I did not realize when their item, and Mr. Oliver, you asked that same question about the budget. If they request an amount of money from the Office of Head Start a year in advance and do not spend it, they have to send that back to the Office of Head Start. And it is just reabsorbed back in there. And that makes me sad because I never like to return money, especially when it's something that our kids need. So that's there again, just to listen to how they have to take all of the pieces and put them together. We just so appreciate what you do for our youngest learners and for their staff. And the bulk of their budget, I wrote that down. The bulk of their budget, where's that? Well, anyway, the percentage of their budget does go for salaries. 86%. I did write that somewhere. I promise I did. But 86% of their budget goes for salaries. And so I think that you do an amazing job with that. That's one thing I really wanted to brag on you about, how you put that budget together and all that you do. So thank you.
All right. Mr. Frank, anything further from ROTC?
No. You heard from the captain and the chief.
Right. Okay.
Some disappointed students, but they'll get an opportunity again. They're all young.
I'm sure it's something they'll never forget.
No, not at all.
Okay. Just one quick item, and it escaped my attention a while ago talking about finance, but we are required by law to publish an audit report, and there are copies available for the public at the central office here, and any citizen can request it, and so we'll have those available.
If you're having trouble going to sleep, it's a great tool. It's a lot of numbers, isn't it?
Just know who your friends are, Susan.
One other thing that I need to bring the public up to date on. I'm sure everyone is aware by now that we are in the process, beginning the process of searching for a permanent assignment for the position of superintendent for McDowell County Schools. Mr. Oliver, very capable in his fulfilling the duties, but Mr. Oliver has informed the board, formally and informally, that he is getting close to the time when he might be able to retire one of these first days. And so he is not interested in a permanent assignment in that role. So the board has been talking about this for a few months now. And to this point, we have entertained offers from three search firms, and the scope of services that they will offer to the board to help us advertise, recruit if we ask them to, screen, background check, set up interviews, and all the things that are necessary in a superintendent search. So I guess probably now the next logical step in the process would be for the board to decide on which firm they would feel most comfortable having to conduct the search for us. And I don't know that the board is comfortable making that decision this evening. And I also know that time is getting away from us, and instead of waiting until the March regular meeting, which would be March 13th, if the board would be interested at our work session on the 27th, having that also noticed as a special called meeting, with the only item of official business being the superintendent, selection of a search firm for the superintendency. So y'all tell me what's on your mind, what the pleasure of the board is. Would you prefer to do that at the end of February, or would you prefer to wait until the middle of March to select a firm? Don't everybody speak at once. I knew I could count on you.
Please.
I knew I could count on you, Michelle.
There you go. I would recommend that we do this at our February meeting if everyone else is amenable to it. What's that? Oh, yes, we would need to call that as a special meeting, so we can do that at the work session.
All right.
Did you want to write that out for me?
Just to be clear.
Anyone else?
I agree.
You would, okay. Anyone else? Anyone else need a little extra time to mull things over? Okay. So then I take the consensus of the board to be that you would like to also notice our work session on the 27th as a special called meeting to name or select a search firm to help us fill the vacant superintendent position. Okay. Well, that is exactly what we will do.
Quick question. Do you see the board interviewing, selecting a firm to interview, or just going ahead and selecting from the three?
Well, personally, well, let me just say it. In the past, when we have utilized a search firm, we did not interview the individual firms.
That's okay. I was just wondering.
And I think, each of the firms submitted a packet with a scope of services and all, and I think they were pretty self-explanatory, as to what they would or could or would not do.
School Board Association did come and give us a presentation.
They did?
They did.
Okay. Well, I guess I remembered wrong then. Well, is that something the board would be interested in doing?
We didn't ask them, and they didn't solicit it. They just came. It's okay not to.
Okay. All right.
I mean, I'm okay.
Okay then. Well, we'll have that item on the agenda for the special call meeting. Any other reports from board members? Okay. One quick note of thanks to Mr. Oliver and the transportation staff and the principals. I really appreciate you letting parents know the evening before there was a 2-hour delay. That really makes quite a difference in the lives of busy people.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I appreciate that support. Unfortunately, it turned out not to be a great call, but it was made in the spirit of precaution and safety. So.
Well, we make decisions with the best information we have at the time.
Yes, sir.
All right.
I was not. I wasn't either. I was not
So
upset
we'll
about that.
move along then to item number 13, approval of the consent agenda. And you have those before you. And remember that any item may be pulled from this consent agenda with a majority of the vote, or majority vote of the board, and discussed and voted on as a separate item. And so are there any items that a member would like to have considered separately?
Make a motion, we approve the consent agenda as printed.
We have a motion by Mr. Frank and a second by Mr. Shuford.
Sir, I do have one thing I'd like to inform the board of before you vote. The overnight field trip for FFA currently says MHS and West Middle. It should also say East Middle. That was our mistake, so that will be adjusted in the minutes.
All right. I would call your attention to one of the facility usage requests. Person is asking to use the gym at McDowell High School Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, beginning tomorrow and going through June 30th. And this was the same request, if you recall, from the December meeting that was tabled. And I didn't know if there would be any interest in pulling that out separately or not.
I would say pull that out and let's talk about that, because I've got a few questions.
Well, we already have a motion and a second on the floor to approve the consent agenda as it has been published.
I can rescind my motion, and I will.
So Mr. Frank withdraws his motion, and Mr. Shuford withdraws his second. Okay. So
can I make a comment before you leave the general discussion? Whenever you're ready. Ready? Okay.
I'm ready.
I go through life looking at things and asking if they're more proper for the board or more proper for staff to do. And it's just how I view things. And I was approached by someone that said it takes a very long time to get the facility use items approved. And they were expressing some frustration. So I'm not making it as a suggestion, just raising a question. Is this something that could be approved at the staff level and not even done by the board?
Right. Well, Chuck, for facility usage, the building level administrator is the person that makes the call with the exception, and it's in our policy. I couldn't tell you the policy number, but one reason that the board must approve would be a Sunday usage. A second reason would be the gymnasium, and the third reason would be the stadium and the football field.
So some are being approved by staff?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
They don't fall into those categories. Right.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
And it's only the gym and the stadium at McDowell High that has to be
At McDowell High, right, yes.
Thank you.
All right, so Mr. Suttles, you wanted to,
Yeah, I want to make a motion that we approve the consent agenda without the use of the travel ball, high school gym, and the high school stadium and football field. I have a question about that one as well.
okay. All righty. So you have heard the motion by Mr. Suttles. Is there a second?
Wait, which ones are you pulling out again? Just go over that.
The facility use request.
So both of those?
Yes.
Okay, both. Pull those out. Okay.
I would second that.
Okay. Ms.
Okay,
Pupo makes
that
a
makes
second.
sense.
Is there any further discussion? If not, all in favor of the motion?
Oh, I'm sorry. One last thing, just as a note, the high school trip that is proposed for, I think it's the NCSU trip. There's no scholarship. There's no fundraising that's associated with it, and it kind of was like we'll figure it out. So just want to make sure that we get that figured out. Make
Yes,
sure that
ma'am.
all those kids have a chance to go.
There will be efforts for that. There's just not anything specific to be stated this time.
Wasn't that part of Ms. Gross's program?
It is.
Okay. So it may be that the expenses are part of that program budget. Maybe.
She has lots of different efforts going on at any given time to provide funding for students who cannot provide it for themselves.
And there was last year an event similar to this for another group, and the funding was provided. And so I do trust that this one is just noting that at this point that they're just want to make sure kids have a chance to go.
Right.
Thanks.
Okay. All right. So we have a motion by Mr. Suttles, a second by Ms. Pupo to consider the facility use request separately from the consent agenda and otherwise to approve the remaining items on the consent agenda. Is there any discussion? If not, then all in favor of the motion, right hand, and the motion carries. Okay? So, now, the consent agenda has been approved, and now we're up to the fifth facility usage request. Mr. Suttles, you made the motion. Would you like to speak first?
Yes, sir. And I've looked at this several times, and I'm glad to see Raekwon's here. Thank you for being in McDowell County. And I really applaud you for trying to give back to the youth. All right, let me say that first. But I got to ask these questions, and it's more because it was asked with baseball, in the past stuff. Age group wise, and Mr. Oliver, I'll direct the questions to you since you probably have these answers. Age group wise, what are we looking at age group wise for these?
Sir, it's my understanding these students are older middle school and younger high school. Is that correct, Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Older middle school.
So would it be safe to say 5th grade through 12th grade?
5th grade through 12th grade. Okay.
And the cost to the kids, is there a cost that the kids will be paying?
Uniform only, correct? That's my understanding.
Uniforms, and then they take care of
Uniform.
Okay. Are we asking, do you have a name you're going by? Just you personally or company name?
Well, I'm actually doing it now with Josh Leather.
Okay.
Formed a nonprofit. We had a meeting with us, school members. We're planning to do that very soon. I think it was with the pension or break off, all-stars and whatnot. Yeah.
Are we charging them for the use under the typical charges the same way that we charge, people that want to use the baseball field and football field? are we charging them
Yes, sir, it is consistent, and they have provided the certificate
by the insurance?
of liability coverage.
Okay, so they're willing to pay the rental fee for that. The only other thing that I have, I've got a little bit of concern because it's throughout the week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And this is strictly, my opinion, being a, former athlete. Sometimes when you provide stuff for kids like this through the summer, it puts them in an awkward position to pick between basketball, baseball, softball, soccer. I mean, and it's things that you have to do in the future anyway. So I want to be careful about these June dates in the summer. I'm fine with the February dates and all that. It's still winter time. When you're getting kids outside, they need to be experiencing other sports. It helps them to be a well-rounded player. So when you're looking at those June tournaments, that's right in the middle of baseball. It's right in the middle of softball. Some kids play soccer, travel soccer. So we're putting them in a bind to play. And we've done this several times in the county. And it's my hope that we can make it an easier decision for them by working together on the dates. The dates are important. So for instance, Little League Baseball only goes through the week, kind of like what he's doing, to allow them to play on the weekends. So that may help out. Now we've created a little bit of a problem if we do basketball and baseball throughout the week. Now we're not providing that opportunity. So it's a very tough thing that I don't want to put parents and kids right in the middle of to do this. I want to give them opportunities. I feel better now that it's 5th grade through 12th grade because they are older kids, not like we're asking a kindergartner or 1st grade, 2nd grade to, hey, you pick right now. Because it is known that if you play multiple sports, you're a better athlete in the sport that you choose in the future if you do have the opportunity to play in college. I had a chance to play college football, college basketball, and I was just better at baseball than the other two, and it gave me an opportunity. I wouldn't have had that opportunity if I would have concentrated on football. If Coach Gibson would have came to me and said, "Down here playing summer football or fall football," I wouldn't have understood how good of a baseball player I became. So I don't want to put kids in that predicament. So I think we just got to be careful. I'm asking you as that guy to work with these kids. Don't hold their feet to the fire if they have another event going on, stuff like that. I ran 22 miles. Coach Gibson made me run 22 miles to play high school football my senior year because I was playing summer baseball at a tournament. So I had 22 miles to make up in 1 week before I could play football. My other 2 teammates quit playing football, really good athletes, and they went on to play professionally. But they quit playing football because I had the 22 miles to make up. If I didn't have a teammate come to me and ask me to run those because I was supposed to be quarterback, I was supposed to do this, I had my cleats in my hand ready to leave. And I ran the 22 miles. He sat up in the office and watched me run 22 miles. I got down to the last mile, and he came down and said, "I didn't think you would do it. Great job. You don't have to run the last one." I said, "Forget that. I'm running this last one." But you won't have players to do that, So just be careful. When other kids are trying to play multiple sports, I ask you that. But I applaud what you're trying to do to give them more opportunities. I hope we have Michael Jordan in there, Brian or Kobe or whoever it is. I applaud you for doing that. And as long as we're paying the fees, I'm not sure if the board knows this, and Mr. Albert, I'd like for you to maybe follow up on this. It's something I was made aware of last week. We have a young lady that went to school at McDowell High School, and she has a rap video, and the video's all over our field. McDowell High, Titans this, there's the turf, she's on it. I'm not sure that was ever approved. She made $5 million off the video. And I don't know if we ever got a donation for the turf. She's worth $20 million from what the research I did. So if you make it big, somebody's got to give back. Don't forget that. But just making sure that we go through the channels to get everybody paying the rental fees. Because, if baseball's got to do it, softball needs to do it, everybody needs to do that and give these kids the opportunity. I'm not saying kill them with fees. I think our fees are actually cheaper than most places.
They are.
Okay, I'm just going to ask a couple just quick questions here. So the request just says Monday, Wednesdays, Thursdays. and it has the dates, but there's no times on here for the request to use it. Can we expand on that? Like when are they using it on Monday, Wednesday?
Ma'am, on the request, I'm fairly 6 to 7:30. Is that correct?
6 to 7, and that does not interfere with any of our current.
If it does, then what we have going
is always priority. Okay. Okay.
That's part of the policy.
And then I just want, this is just a safety issue for me. You know how I'm all about safety. We have someone that is there in the building to support this team in case something happens in the building, and someone to lock up the building when everything is done.
Yes, ma'am.
So we have a custodian there, or whoever it is that.
Shift custodians are always there
Until the last person leaves, correct? And checks the building and locks it down.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
You're recommending?
I'm recommending consideration because this one has been discussed before. So I knew that the board wanted to discuss it.
But you're okay with it?
Sir, I have no problem with it as long as it doesn't create a conflict at the school. And that's always the number one priority. That's why it has to go to the principal first. But I do understand the concerns that the board has for the high school stadium, the high school gym, and anything on Sunday, because those have created issues in the past.
If I can, from what I just heard is that this is actually a different request than what came to us last time, and so it's not.
It's not one of the two that what was changed was the dates, because the original request was back in January.
Right, and I've been trying to find that in my notes here, and I can't. But what I recall is that when it was requested last month, so in January, it was for a business at that point in time.
That was the other request.
And
that was the second request. There were two different requests that the board pulled, and it was the December meeting. They weren't brought forward in January. And there were two requests. This is one of those requests. The other request has been rescinded.
Okay, I would like a minute to find that and to look, and because I would have likely have made notes on that. So
You want me to talk about the YMCA, the other one we pulled while she's looking?
Thank you.
My only question there with the YMCA using these stadiums, I saw it was only one day. It's the same thing. They're paying a rental fee.
Yes, sir. And they're actually a partner organization. As you know, we use their facilities every week with FCS.
Do we have something with them?
We have an MOU with them for everything that we do with them, which includes Splash and FCS usage of their facilities every week. And they also have provided their certificate of liability for $1 million.
So we have a partnership, something drawn up with them as a partnership.
What about the swim team? The use of the pool for the swim team, do we not rent from them on that?
There is some rental fee involved with that, yes, ma'am.
And not for the splash program though.
The splash program is it's a different set of fees. The FCS usage, there is no fee for that, but there is a fee for splash because it involves lifeguards and lots of safety issues. Did I get that right?
That was my only concern.
I know why Miss Pupo is looking back for her nose. Mr. Miller, I just want to tell you thank you. You're exactly what I always encourage my kids to do at Glenwood, is to come back and reinvest in the community that raised them. And so I want to applaud you for that. Mr. Settles and I talked about that, because like you said, there is maybe a boy or a girl that's looking for a career and a pathway to get them to a different place. And so I want to thank you for that, just for giving them an opportunity to have something to do. So that's just my 2 cents on that.
Mm-hmm.
Any luck?
I did find it. I did. I don't happen to have any notes about it, but I do see it is on the agenda.
All right. Okay.
And ma'am, I apologize for that confusion. That there were two policies. There were two requests.
I see that now.
And one of those was rescinded.
Okay.
So one other thing, it came to mind because it was from you. It did come to mind this. The first request that we had, when we were talking about it being a business, we were a little bit concerned about, making money off of kids, because I want to provide that option. I know you got to pay for rent and everything else, power bills, so trust me, and I did the same thing when I first finished. My big concern is make sure, because at any point, McDowell is a small county, and you hear things go around, just make sure that you're encouraging the kids to go to McDowell High School. Don't encourage them to go to East Rutherford or Mitchell or something, because they have a chance to play, because we got 4 girls that are pretty good, and you got 2 girls, they would play behind somebody. Always remember, if they're in McDowell County, encourage them to go to McDowell High School. Even if you think Mitchell County is so terrible, they'll be number 1 there. All right, I can promise you this, they go to Mitchell and be number 1, they're not gonna get any more opportunities than what they'll be number 4 or 5 at McDowell. So always remember that, talk your school up, don't talk it down, don't try to send athletes. We already have a big enough problem with kids jumping, thinking they can go here and go to RF Central and start down there. The kids think the grass is green on the other side until they get over there. So, this is my personal opinion, please, if we agree to pass this, encourage these kids to go to West McDowell, McDowell High School, East McDowell. All right, I'm a Trojan, so.
I've always been a Florida McDowell. The reason why I wanted to come back here and kind of get back, as you all may not know, I moved to Rusty. My father and grandfather basically had gotten Alzheimer's. So we had to move down there to kind of, help take care of him. Luckily, it was around my junior year where I got my license, so I got to make my own decision of which school I could go to. And I made a decision to go to McDowell. I've always chosen McDowell, always will. Just kind of my feedback to see around that.
I appreciate that.
Is there any further discussion? If not, then we need to move along. Is there a motion concerning the facility use request?
I'll make a motion, we now approve the consent or
The facility use.
request.
All right, both of them?
Yes.
Okay. Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second that.
Ms. Mumal makes the second. Is there any further discussion? If not, then all in favor, right hand, and all opposed, none. The motion carries. All right. The next item of business, the board needs to move into closed session, and we would consider a motion to do that for those reasons that you find listed in your agenda this evening. So is there a motion to move into closed session?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Who made the second?
It doesn't matter, it's one of the.
Miss Silver did, or
What's up, Miss Helms?
Yeah. Ms. Helms made the second. Ms. Mumal made the motion. Any discussion? None. All in favor?
Chuck,
Motion
Chuck,
carries.
raise your hand.
You have to vote.
Motion carries.
Yes.
That was an excellent presentation.
I don't know that I can so but that was an excellent presentation. I've got some questions I didn't think it would embarrass me to publicly ask. So I may need to see you.
Okay. Discussion. Not all in favor. And the one clarification, Ms. Mumal, did your motion include both certified and non-certified?
Yes, it did, sir.
Okay. All right. So all in favor. Now we're clear. Any other business duly before the board? If not, your announcements, the Old Fort celebration, board work session, and remember that the first hour of that will be for the mandatory Head Start training.
Second hour will be your report from the elementary capacity study.
Right.
And then we'll go into a special call.
And then there'll be a special call session to select a search firm. Okay, and then the March regular board meeting. Any other announcements? If not, is there a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second.
Ms. Silver made the second. All in favor? Let's get that along. Thank you all. Thank you all.